and welcome to the Standpoint as usual. You know much. It's our Women's Month. You know, International Women's Day is celebrated on the 8th of March every year. So we celebrate women the whole of March. And May is our Mother's Month. So today we are about to celebrate an amazing woman. You know, when I sent a teaser about her, people were like, hey, really? Yes. She's been in activism since 1967. You and I, we are there. We're making small TV that we are coming on. We think we are activists and feminists and gender advocates and so on and so on. She's traveled an amazing journey and she deserves to be celebrated. In December, NetRight awarded her, and I think that as a nation, we need to award this woman. You'll find out why. Let me say thank you to GTP for my cloth. This dress was made for me by Ophelia Crossland Designs. My makeup product by Paba Cosmetics. My shoe by Awo's Unisex Boutique. And of course, my earring today by Egudzi Ghana. We take a break. When we come back, we meet the woman who is 74 years, married for 49 years, been in activism since 1967. Now you need to sit up. Wisdom is about to flow. We'll be back. Okay, so welcome back to the Standpoint. I know you are itching to find out who I'm talking to. Don't worry, you'll see her very soon. Amazing woman. There isn't any serious, let's say, gender advocate or activist that I know who cannot say that she's been touched by this woman. She's mentored all of us from the generation before me, my generation, and the generation after. She's an amazing woman. But before you get to see her, let me say thank you to Wilma Africa Limited. They produce Phyto cooking oil. Phyto cooking oil is made from palm oil. It means it's cholesterol free and it is fortified with vitamin A and endorsed by Ghana Medical Association. They also import into this country Fortune rice, and Fortune rice comes in 3 variants. The first one is the green packaged one. That one is good for the soft dishes. And then the orange packaged one is medium grain, so not too soft dishes, you know what to use it for. But if you want to prepare something with a long grain, with a good aroma like jollof and fried rice and so on, you go for the wine packaged one. Let me also say thank you to African Women's Development Fund, AWDF. They support African women's rights organizations across Africa, and they've been doing this for over, how many years? 15 years. My guest today, I know you're getting upset. You want to see her. Well, she is Mrs. Elizabeth Apkalu. I'm not qualified to describe who she is or to talk about her qualifications. So let's get to meet her. Welcome to the Standpoint.
Thank you very much.
I must say welcome back.
Thank you very much.
And I'd like to say thank you to you, because when we started the Standpoint and people didn't know much about us, you just availed yourself, and that gave us some credibility, and we are grateful to you.
Thank you.
Can you believe in July will be 10 years?
I can't.
In July, the Standpoint will be 10 years.
I can't.
And you're a great part of our story.
Thank you.
Where did you grow up?
In Accra. In Accra, in Ada, Elizabeth.
Okay. In
Ada. My grandmother. Yes.
Okay. Okay. How has the journey been like? From 1967.
When I was second year in the university.
Which university was that?
Legon.
Legon,
yes.
Yeah. So how did you get involved? You know, I wasn't born, but I can't imagine how gender activism was then.
Yeah. Actually, I think it started, my father was my first mentor.
Okay.
Yes. And, well, he's the only male among 7 sisters.
Okay.
The second. And when he started having children, my mother had 3 girls in a row. I was the second.
Okay.
And the fourth one became my father was kind of disappointed, but I think he learned very quickly to accept what God has given him. And he empowered us in a way that I think if men are doing that now, it will help a lot of the things that are happening.
Right.
Yes, my father was, I must say, a gender activist par excellence,
Right.
because he believed that if you educate your girls the way that you educate your boys, they will also turn out. And he did not spare any effort. Took us to boarding schools. He would drive himself all the way to Ola boarding school. And then even when we can come home with Adra, those days in the 50s, he would drive all the way to Cape Coast, and the road was not that easy.
Right.
But he was that committed person, protected us, and ensured that we had good education. So, and then one thing he always said, we should be independent. We should not rely on anybody, because when men, you receive from men, you have to pay for it.
Ah.
Yes. And so...
Are the ladies listening?
Yes. Yes.
What you receive from men, you will have to pay for it.
So he made us very, very very independent. And even throughout my school days to the university, when I have friends and they give him gifts, he said, it's a gift you cannot pay back, don't accept it. Yes. So it was difficult for me, even in my marriage, to receive gifts from even my husband. So he would let me buy it, and then he would pay for it. Because I think that concept is very, very, empowering. Because if you don't owe anybody, and that doesn't even go to just boys and men. He also thinks that if you have children, you must be responsible for them. So if only one sister was allowed to give me pocket money when we were a Holy Child, and he doesn't want anybody to say later on that I looked after you. You should not owe when it's not necessary. And so these were some of the values that he enshrined in us and made us independent. So once you don't receive anything from any man, you become fearless, and you'll be able to speak your mind. He encourages to speak to his own children, because sometimes he says, oh, Elizabeth is ready to speak her mind. But he trained us that way. Yes. And he used to tell my husband that I'm very, very difficult. Not difficult, that I will say it as it is. And but the values he enshrined in us, I think they are very, very important. Men should protect their daughters. They should look after them. Right. And they should not allow other people in the family. My father will not let anybody sleep in our house overnight. Yeah. You come and visit, but you go away. Because later on I found out that, bringing in people is what leads to a whole lot of things. Yeah. The defilement and all the things. We never encountered any of those things. Right. So men out there, please protect your daughters. My father protected us. He looked after us. And there's nothing he wouldn't do.
So how did that lead you into activism when you were at the university?
Yeah, I've been a prefect throughout. So yes, so I've been...
Ola girls, you were a prefect? Holy Child, you were a prefect?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So, my father believes that if there's something to do, you have to stand up and do it. And you don't wait for others. Right. So I've already had that training. My mother rather was the quiet type. The prayerful quiet type, not as assertive as but in her own way, she is also very strong. Yes. So this training from childhood really helped me to be, very assertive. Because on my 60th birthday, one of my aunties who has just passed, she's a teacher, and before I went to Ola boarding school, I was in class 3, and she told the gathering that one thing she admired about me was the fact that I'm always able to stand up to issues, and especially when the thing is wrong. As in, this particular teacher picked on me. I was an artist. I draw a lot, yes. And I was not happy with what she did to me. So I got up in front of the class and told the teacher. My aunt repeated. I've even forgotten most of it. He says, I have better teachers in my house. That is referring to my aunt. Because my aunt trained in Britain, and she's one of the teachers in the school, and I couldn't care less. So I was actually suspended for a week.
They will suspend you. Why not?
But I was defiant. So my aunt was telling the friends who came to the birthday party that I've always been very assertive, and I speak my mind, and that I always speak the truth, and I just cannot stand, people being abused.
Right.
So I think the right thing is from an early distance. Started with my father, and then also the kind of education that I had in Ola also, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, but you still haven't talked about how in the second year at the university you got involved in mainstream activism.
Yes, when I got there, I realized that all the other halls were actually, so I just asked
Which hall were you?
Volta Hall.
Volta Hall, okay.
So I asked my friends, late Teresa Mele Tego,
okay,
what is wrong with us that we cannot organize and also stand and present a manifesto and stand to be elected? Why should we be nominated? They confer positions on us. I said, no, I object to that. Yes. And they said, what can we do? I said, we can also present a manifesto. There were so many things that we needed to do for the hall. So let's present. So we listed some of the things. And if you realize, I'm always an organizing secretary. I like that position because I'm the doer of things. Yes. So we went around, we wrote the manifesto, and we went from door to door. Every door I went. And then presented what we can do to make the hall better, and also to be a par with the boys. And it was like the first time in the history of the hall for such a thing to happen, because most people were timid, just concentrating on their business. So people ask, when do I have time to study? But I have my time, early hours of the morning, I finish, and then late in the night, that's it. So we got elected. And late Teresa Mele Tego was vice president, and then Felicia.
Vice president?
Yes.
SRC?
Yes.
Vice president?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And then Felicia, Felicia Saki.
Okay.
She's a lawyer. She was the president. She was quiet. But we just didn't understand why we are equal to men, and why we should do things differently from the men. And then
Mr. Apkalu, you still say we are equal to men.
Yes.
People say that these days there's a whole, I'm sure you've heard about the whole battle going on.
I know.
About pepper them, sugar them, pamper them.
I know.
They said we should talk about equity, not equality.
No. Equity comes because, mind you, for instance, advocates for equity. We have different levels.
Yeah.
So when we have filled the potholes, then that's equity. Then we can, because God created us equal.
Right.
But we are different.
Right.
That's what we need to understand.
Yeah.
So once we are different, there are certain things we'll do differently. But we are all God's children. We have the same capabilities. We have the same spirit that God has given us. So it's, learning to respect the differences, and then the relationship between men and women. Then, when you are gender sensitive, you understand that women do things differently, and men also do things differently. So you have to respect and honor both.
Okay.
Because this is the kind of training that we should give to our children, and we ourselves should exhibit it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Have you ever asked your husband what he saw in you that made him marry you?
It's very interesting. That same 67, when we did the elections, I was walking from Volta Hall to Saba Hall for a Lenten period. And he started coming with another friend. And he used to send me notes from the medical school, and I used to throw them out. So the friend asked me, oh, so sent you a listen. I said, you shouldn't bother me. He kept on like that until finally
the man suffered.
Yes. He came on board, yes. He told me that he likes my persistence. And he likes also my consistency. And when I say something, I don't just say it. I pray over it. And because he met me in... so because of that, he was coming to the Lenten things. Yes, because he wanted to see more of me. And so that's what he told me. And those endearing qualities have persisted to now. And he says, I'm always on target. I've never said something in a rush. I always pray about it, and when I say it, it's correct. I say it's because when you are guided by the Holy Spirit and you are also guided by your God, you don't make mistakes. Mistakes will be made, but not too much, because you rely not on your own strength. And that is also, if you have God with you, it makes you strong. And as I said, he said, God loves you, but I think God loves me more than anybody.
Ready.
Yes. Yes. So when you have the presence of God around you, it's easier to do things because you become fearless.
Right.
Because you are only accountable to God. And I also instill that in my children. Yes.
Well, I have with me in the studio student from University of Professional Studies, Accra. And I'm sure you're happy you came, right? Yes. You are picking up some, pointers and advice. Well, let me take a break. When we come back, we'll continue this. It's not a discussion, it's a celebration. We are celebrating Mrs. Elizabeth Apkalu. Let me say thank you to Awake Purified Mineral Water by Casapreco Company. They also sponsor us with their royal drink. That's royal apple and royal orange juice. Thank you so much to them. House of Foods, Auntie Vera, you know it. I just love you to bits. Cake Technique, thank you. We are so grateful to you. Yep Cleaning Services keeps our environment clean, and Matamis gives us the port. We take a break. When we come back, continue this discussion with Mrs. Apkalu. Okay, thank you very much. Welcome back. We're still talking and celebrating Mrs. Elizabeth Apkalu. Mrs. Apkalu, so I ask again, how has the journey been? Being an activist, going through all the phases, from the 60s, 67, after uni, going to the working field, the Beijing, women, Ghanaian women getting involved in this whole activism. How has it been? How have you been involved in that?
Very much part of the process from the beginning. As you know, when the International Women's Decade was declared, all countries were mandated to set up bureaus or departments or ministries. And we were one of the first people to start. Okay. And I had the opportunity to work there from 1980 to 1986. That is when I came back from the UK with my husband. And we did a lot of things because there was a lot to do to sensitize both women and men in this country to adhere to some of the tenets of the women's movement. That is, it's now internationally acclaimed that if we don't take women seriously, if we don't help women to give up their best, it means that development will be lopsided. Right. So it is an international commitment, and we had out of Mexico conference, and then after that, we had meet conferences in Copenhagen, and then also in Nairobi, which I attended, and that is so. It's like the international community is now coming up with templates, which now nation states will have to comply with. And then we also develop our own. So from that time, from Nairobi through all the way to Dakar, 94, and then to Beijing.
Beijing, 95.
Yeah, 95 was the climax. So it was after Beijing that I think we really sat up as a country. Because after Beijing, we realized that we had to do more. So that's when a pioneering study was done on the status of women in this country. And about 10 institutions all over across board were actually selected, and an in-depth study from 1995 through to 1996 and was done. So the report is one of the major thrusts for actually designing programs, that is, do further research and then training, and also to disseminate the findings. And that has really helped us. I was fortunate, after my sojourn in Liberia and Sierra Leone as a consultant, coming back to be hired to also be part of that pioneering work done by ISE, GIMPA, and then another institution in the UK, Bradford University. So I became the project manager, and through that, I think a lot of things came out. For the first time, we have a comprehensive study on women in this country. And so what do we do with the findings? We disseminated it. And as a project manager, I ensured that it should not be a female. Nana Koledu could have been, but I thought that it should be a man. And so I approached the vice president then, who was the late Atta Mills, and that was 1998. And he came and actually, adored the research findings, and that was very, very powerful. Okay, we wrote the speech for him, and he read it verbatim. Okay. He didn't change anything. But it also showed his commitment. That's interesting. Yes, it showed his commitment.
He believed everything you had written.
Exactly.
And really...
He didn't change even one dot. He believed everything. So later on, GIMPA organized training and dissemination sessions with all the institutions mentioned in the study. And we went to the castle, 2 levels, to the political class, and then we also went to the administrative class to teach them, to disseminate the findings, and to find out what they are doing about some of the findings that we found. So a lot has been done. Unfortunately, the NCWD then was supposed to document all the all the institutions that were studied, and also to document all the findings, and also to disseminate. The documentation center became a mirage, because I personally then thought that it should have been located in GIMPA, so that there would be no political interference. And then what I said came to pass. But nonetheless, I think we have a lot of material. We still need to, bring this out into the public domain. And then also, I also believe that 10 years after research, you need to go back and, find out what has happened, whether the findings that we made 1996 or through to 1998, but they are still valid.
Valid, right.
They've done it, it's all a question of finance.
Right.
A question of finance. But really, if we really want to help women in this country, we should be doing more research.
Yeah. Now, talking about helping women, do you think substantive governments in this country of ours have done well for women?
I would say yes and no. Yes and no. Our political history is not that. It's not the best. We've had long periods of military dictatorship. Right. And then also our constitutional rule, I would say, really started well from 1992. And then so from 1992, I think now you can see that women are organizing to really create a space for themselves. And I think from there, I can say a lot is being done. But because of our checkered political and constitutional history, I would say we lost momentum. Because the earlier people in the CPP era and all that, they did a lot. Right. But we did not, continue.
That brings me to my next question, because there are some who, especially the younger generation, who feel that your generation of gender activists and advocates did not mentor enough or did not collaborate with the younger generation. So there's now a gap. There are just few young people in there, but quite a number of the younger people seem to be lost about what this gender equality, gender, women empowerment, this whole thing is about. They're just lost in there to the extent that even now some people think that women empowerment is all about men, how to cook for men, how to service men, you know, how to take men's position.
No, it's very wrong. It's very, very unfortunate that we've gotten to this point, because I think a lot has to be said also because of the poor economic situation. In my generation, you don't care about so many things. Your salary is enough to look after you and all that. But we have gone down there. You know, Ghana's economy is supported by donors. And that's not the best. And a lot of people finish...
Apkalu, you are being nice, supported. Some will say that it's being run by donors.
Okay.
Because we largely depend on donors.
Because we are not doing the things that will empower our own indigenous people to create jobs and also to earn. So, you see, when you see women's activism going down, it also has economic implications.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. In my time, you don't think about where the next meal will come or what job. You are satisfied with your salary. Yeah. You save some. You divide into three. Save 1/3 and use 1/3 for yourself and for cooking. And then, so you don't have all the frustrations that young people go through. Yeah. So when they are going through these kind of frustrations, it's difficult for them to be enticed or to give off their best. You know, so it's also one. But that's not preclude the fact that they need to be involved, because we are fighting for the future, not for yourself, for generations later to come. So it is important for them to be interested.
Mr. Apkalu, do you consider yourself as a feminist?
Yes.
You are a feminist?
I am.
And you are married?
Oh, what does that
mean?
For
49 years.
Yes.
Let me take a break, we'll be back, because a feminist that is married, is that one too a feminist? No. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue. Let me say thank you to GTP for my cloth Ophelia crossband design sewed for me. My shoe is from Awos Unisex Boutique. They have branches at Osu, Tesano, and then Jowulu. Yes, just their telephone numbers and just hang on to them. They also have some apartments as well that if you're interested, you get in touch with them and they will definitely hook you up. Let me say another thank you to Paba Cosmetics. They give us a makeup product. My earrings today is by Egudzi Ghana. We'll be back. Okay, welcome back, and thank you to our supporters, House of Foods, Cake Technique, Kasapreko, Awake Purified Mineral Water, and Royal Juices, that's the orange and apple juice. We say thank you to them. And Matamix, they give us the pot. Yep, cleaning services takes care of our environment. Mrs. Apkalu, did you say you're a feminist?
Yes, I am.
And you're married?
Yes.
Been married for 49 years.
Yes.
Hey, is your husband not afraid of you?
That's what people ask him. How does he manage with me? You know, being so I'm different. But it's all boils down to respect. Yeah. Because I put my cards on the table. Yeah. Before we married. The only thing that he didn't abide by is I wanted to have only 2 children. Yes.
He said, well, lie. So he gave you how many?
We ended up having 4.
4?
Yes.
2. And it doesn't matter. Yes. 2 for you. Then he gave you 2. Then he added his 2. That's all.
But every other thing he agreed. He agreed. And so you need to have respect. And then I also respect him. Right. And then so he also, but one thing, you know, he says that when I say something and he doesn't agree, sometimes I go ahead and do it. And so he says, hey, I said, why? You didn't comment. You didn't say anything. He said, well, even if I say it and you believe you will do it,
you would
go ahead and
do it.
So what's the point in, opposing? He says he has realized, realized earlier on, very early in the marriage, that to be peaceful for us to have this, it's better to allow me.
Right.
Yes. To have my way. You know, like every Saturday.
It takes a man who loves you.
Yes.
And understand to understand you. Yeah.
Every Saturday we have to go out and dance.
Chai!
Yes. Every Saturday, no matter what. That's one we have to. So a few things to listen. And my father told that I'm a very difficult, not difficult, but very specific. So, that if he wants to go with me, then he has to
understand who.
And then I was also told that, my mother was told that he's a very difficult man. But I find him very, very, very manageable.
So it's all about how the two of you understand each other and work together. Well, why is it that people think that feminists can't marry?
I don't know.
Or feminists don't want to marry?
They ask me, does he have to beg? Or all kinds of things. They say, no, she's not like that. And then people even think I don't cook. They say she's the best cook. So people have perceptions. But when two of you agree on things,
right,
and then you work it out well, and especially when there's love, because the Bible says what? Men love your wives, and then not women to be subservient to. No, you have to respect the man. Yeah. If you respect him, he will love you. Yeah. If I believe strongly in something, I'll go for it. Right. And I'll give you explanation. But as he himself said, I've never made a mistake. Right. All the years. Yeah. I've never.
So you think about it.
Yes.
You take calculated risk.
And I pray.
And you
I pray about it.
Yeah.
Yes, before I take the action.
Action.
So I believe. So I always said, when he anoints me, I said, I prayed about you. That's why I'm married to you.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have married you.
Yes. So these are the mutual respect.
Right.
And then being friends. Friends. We were friends 2 years before we got married. Okay. And then be able to sit down and chat and discuss things, and then be able to accommodate the things you cannot change. Right. About your partner. It's very, very important.
So did you have to take time off to raise your children?
No. That is what, when I went out to work as a consultant, they asked me, I always say people, the house is like a cooperative. Right. Yes. I give out work schedule. Right. One will work with me in the kitchen for a week. I have 4 children, as you know. And I found out my only son was the best cook.
Dr. Apkalu.
Yes.
He's my soul brother.
Yes. And very, very dutiful. Right. Who tidy up and everybody. So I make sure that they all work. And I said, the house, because I have to go on assignment, conference. So the book is there. We know what is there for to eat, what needs to be bought and everything. And then they all take turns. So you see, then they don't look down on people's house helps. Right. Well, I don't like it. Right. I don't even have house helps. Right. I have boys maybe cleaning and all that. Right. But everybody does some led by their own father, cleaning and everything. So
so their father also cleans.
Oh yeah, he does.
He's a hands-on father.
Exactly. He doesn't know how to cook. Because his mother never taught him. And then he regretted that he didn't learn. I said, it's not your fault. But he will cut up, prepare the fish, do everything, and after cooking, he will clean up.
Wow. Okay, I don't want to be selfish. I'll give people in the audience to ask a question.
Mrs. Apkalu, what are some of the challenges you faced over the years as a feminist, and how have you handled them?
Oh, we face a lot of challenges. In the first place, as I said, a hall like a Water Hall, we are not supposed to canvass, write our manifestos, and also stand to be elected. They think women are inferior, and then not inferior, but to be protected in a way, so they just handpick people You know, these are things we have to break the mold.
Weak vessels.
Yes, we have to break the mold. And that's what because my school, Holy Child, is actions, not words. Factor, non-verbal. Actions, not words. We have to break the mold. Why? If it doesn't stand to reason, some of them are culturally, prescriptions and religious norms. We have to break all those molds, because to be empowered, you have to, be able to be above both cultural prescription, religious prescription, and all kinds of things, norms, so that what you have to believe in is your God, not what people have made for you, because the gender relations are things which are man-made. Once they are man-made, they can be what? Reversed. They can be relearned. We learned all these things from our childhood. And I was telling you how important it is for a father, to mentor their girl children. It's very, very important to make them assertive, strong, to be able to stand on their, that even when you go into marriage, no man can just put you on the carpet. That doesn't mean you are being aggressive. You have, you have to be the same way in the gender discourse. I was one of the first to be fortunate to go to ILO for training in gender studies. And I came back and shared. I did a lot of workshops at British Council and other areas to help other people to understand the concept and to know that we are not fighting. We are negotiating. And if maybe where you are coming from, you have been asked to be a floor mat, you don't deserve to be there. Get up. So we started with a lot of empowerment, because even the women themselves have accepted their inferior positions. I refuse to accept it. Right from listen, So with the help of my father, and then also the environment I grew up from,
So you didn't have to, in conclusion, you didn't have to become a slave in the kitchen for your husband.
Never.
You didn't have to, I beg you, as some people are using these days, you have to, pamper and sugar him before he married you.
No.
He saw something in you that he knew he wanted, and he came for it.
Yes. Oh, yes. That is very, very. And as I said, even before people started writing contracts, I already was, clear in my mind what I wanted from the marriage.
Okay. What do you want the younger generation of women coming who seem to be confused about who they are, what we mean by they being empowered, what we mean by they being standing up for what they believe in, and not, as you said, kowtowing to men and thinking life is all about marriage and having children?
I think women, girls especially out there, need to be strong, and they need to be more assertive, and they also need to know that they can have a life outside marriage. Even with me married for so long, we've had our differences. I said, look, I can leave this marriage now, and when I leave, I take all my children away. He said, no, I would not take my children away. You are not leaving this marriage. As I said, it's God-given. So you have to be strong. Don't let any man think that you depend on him. And I told you, beginning, my father said, don't accept gifts you cannot pay back. And also, be self-sufficient. And I tell even women who are going into politics, I said, if you want to go into politics, and a woman of substance, you have to have other sources of income. As I told you, I paint, I sew, I do a whole lot of other things. You have to be innovative to know what you can do to enhance yourself. And don't fall back. My husband will tell you, there's nothing, if he buys it from the and brings it, I will not accept it. So I will buy it, and then you pay for it if he wants to. That is, it's my birthday, he wants to give me a gift. But I don't depend on him. I'm very self-sufficient. If he gives, fine. If he doesn't, I go along with it. So you see, don't depend on men, even in marriage, because if you do, he will never respect you. So these are some of the things that will help young women to be brave, courageous, to stand on their feet. You should not say that you want to marry to be rich. No, make your own riches. Yes, and then be independent even in marriage.
Be independent even in marriage. How much more if you are single? Mrs. Apkalu, I love you.
I love you too.
I love you plenty. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
We're
much.
so grateful for coming to share with us.
Thank you.
We are really, really grateful. Right. So, my dear ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming. We'll take a break. When we come back, I'll give you a bit of me. So the feminist who is married, is that one too a feminist? Yes, feminists do marry. They marry because feminism is not about fighting men. It's about knowing who you are as a woman, what you stand for, knowing when to negotiate, when to compromise. You know, making decisions for yourself. That yes, if you decide that you spend all your life in the kitchen cooking for the man, it's your decision. Not because you feel you have to do it or you feel you are being compelled to do it. Being able to make decisions for yourself, knowing your self-worth, being independent. And we heard from Mrs. Apkalu, even in marriage, as a woman, you have to be independent. So you need to be resourceful. Not that everything you run to the man. My heart bleeds when you hear stories of even women, pregnant women, who go into labor and will have to wait for their husbands to come from wherever to get money before they can go to the hospital. Young ladies today, they think, what's the saying? Use what your mama gave you to get what you want. Really? Listen, there's a certain pride in being able to say that I bought this for myself. I did this for myself. Or I bought this for my child. Let us wise up as women. This is our month for women. We've come a long way. People have struggled to pave the way for us. Don't let us let them down. Being a feminist doesn't mean you have to be disrespectful. It doesn't mean you are rude. In fact, an empowered woman is very humble. She's loving, she's compassionate. She's wise, she's intelligent. She's powerful. And she's independent. Above all, the empowered woman knows the role of God in her life. That's what I always tell you. My name is Ohinenye Gifty Auntie. I have super crazy faith in God that He's able, but I also know that He's blessed me with wisdom and power and authority to be able to do what I am supposed to do to impact life. Grace is sufficient for all of us, but we have to be careful for our own actions. Thanks for watching. See you same time next week. Bye for now.